The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, today on Aging Horizons we're going to be talking about food, which of course is my favorite subject, but seriously, food instability and food insecurity is a big problem right now, and we want to make sure that you know where to reach out for assistance and how to get the food you need to live your life. We have a lot of information, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
I want a drier form of transportation.
Well, I think we should fly. And that's why we made an appointment to get our Montana Real ID.
The mtrealid.gov website is easier to navigate than the river.
Look here, Captain Lewis. Smile, Captain Clark. Your paperwork is in order. Certified birth certificate, proof of residency, and social security card.
Not laminated.
Our first flight. Do you think this will fit in the overhead bin?
Go to mtrealid.gov.
It's that easy.
Montanans are independent. We're also responsible, protective, and committed to our families and communities. That's why we've done so well against COVID-19. As we open up, we've got to keep doing what we do best. And it starts with each and every one of us, protecting public health in the 406 for our families, friends, and neighbors. We all have to do our part. Montanans get that. And we've got this.
I was angry and upset when the doctor told me I have diabetes. I just didn't want to deal with it, the needles and the diet restrictions. But after I started to learn about it, those feelings changed. I was at risk for a heart attack caused by high blood sugar. That got my attention. I started watching my diet and making sure I got enough exercise every day. I want to be around for my grandkids, and now that I know what to do, it seems like a small price to pay.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
In 20 years at an electric utility, I've seen the hardships many of our neighbors face with high winter heating bills.
Ross Holter, Flathead Electric Co-op.
That's why I donate to Energy Share of Montana. I just hate the thought of senior citizens, and young kids especially, being cold in the winter. Donate to Energy Share. Help your neighbor stay warm.
To donate, call 888-779-7589 or go to EnergyShareMT.com. Energy Share, you can help your neighbor stay warm.
Hi folks, welcome to Aging Horizons. Glad you're with us. Brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm Kimmy Oberman, your host, and today we're going to be talking about food and food insecurity and how you can manage on less money, on quarantine, and get the food that you need to stay healthy and fit and on your own. We have a great guest with us today, Elizabeth Weaver, and Elizabeth is with the Montana Food Bank Network, and she's a benefits access specialist. Hi, glad to have you, Elizabeth.
Hi, Kimmy. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And benefits access specialist is a mouthful.
Well, thank you. So before we move on, let's give our audience just some basics. What is Food Bank Network, and what does a benefits access specialist even do?
Well, the Montana Food Bank Network, we are the only statewide food bank in Montana, and we kind of act as a clearinghouse, if you will, for food. We distribute food to we have around 200 to 250 community partners across the entire state of Montana. This includes senior centers, food pantries, boys and girls clubs, some youth homes, Salvation Armies, you name it, it could be in our network. So we work with them bringing food that places might have a harder time acquiring at a great rate. So we help make sure that there is food for pantries to have on their shelves, for them to distribute to the community, food for community kitchens or senior centers to have to be able to also cook with, those kinds of things. And we also do a lot of advocacy work and education around food insecurity and connecting people to other resources that they might be eligible for in that food realm. So that that person is seen more as a whole being, not just you need food. Awesome. That's a great way to look at it. Yes, no, we very much so. Like, we all recognize that food is a big part of our lives, as we obviously need it for nourishment and survival, but it's also a smaller bit of our lives, meaning there's so many other factors that are happening in and around us that contribute to whether we have enough to eat or too much to eat, or, you know, having other issues in our lives that can ebb and flow with that food security. So we like to make sure that if folks are in a particular hard spot and they're not having enough money for groceries, that we are able to help them with the food piece, but also maybe connect them to other resources that could help with maybe some of the other areas in their lives that they're needing a little extra support.
Well, Elizabeth, will this be a good time for us to put your phone number up on the screen?
Absolutely, yes. You can call me at 1-406-239-6475, and I know that that's going to be on your screen several times.
Yep, we're going to do that. And if someone calls you, I mean, what's their experience going to be?
It's pretty basic. I know that a lot of times when people hear helpline or phone number, they get a little bit antsy, because we've all had those experiences where we call a hotline and we're sitting on hold, or no one calls us back and it disconnects. I answer the hotline. I'm the person that mans it. So you're going to talk to me. And if you get my voicemail or you don't talk to me, it's because I'm probably on the other line. So I tell clients, leave a message and I will call you back by the next day, unless it's a Friday, and then it'll be Monday. But I will call you back. If you leave me a message, you're going to hear from me, and I'm going to chat with you, see, you know, what I can help you with, and we'll go on from there, giving you resources that you might be looking for, or answers to questions you might have.
And Elizabeth, although you're centralized, you can also give information that's all over the state, correct?
Yes. Yep. And the great news about being all over the state is, for a lot of the work that we're doing, especially in my realm, which is a lot of public benefits work, so with SNAP and so forth, that doesn't always change. Those are usually like federal or state programs. So even if you're, you know, up in Daniels County, it's probably going to be very similar experience to if you were in Beaverhead County. So I can help answer all your questions, really, no matter what town or county you're calling from in Montana.
Right. That sounds just great. And we often encourage folks to reach out to get other contacts. And it's great to know that that's how your philosophy works. And can I just ask a question? We have a couple minutes left in the segment, and I was just fascinated by all the different things that you said, places you reach out. Where do you get all the food?
We get our food from a variety of places. Our chief operations manager, our warehouse guru, he is a fantastic food sourcer. He's like a food source wizard, and he gets it from all over the place. We get it directly from suppliers such as General Mills sometimes. Sometimes we'll get it from wholesale distributors, especially for produce, like regional areas. So our food is coming from all over the place, and it's brought to our warehouse we're in Missoula. And then from there, we ship it out across the state.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how wonderful. And I assume that I think you mentioned you do grants and other kinds of work as well. So it's not just cans of soup coming.
No, not at all. We are very blessed to be in this region of the United States where there is an abundance of produce. And so especially in the Pacific Northwest kind of corridor, we can partner with the states like Idaho and Oregon and Washington to create some of that fresh produce of being able to get apples and onions and potatoes. And so we're supplementing some of that shelf-stable food with about as much fresh produce as we possibly can.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that obviously can be very dicey to get done because it is not shelf stable. So that's great to hear. You know, folks, reach out. If you're hungry, if you have a friend or a neighbor or a relative who is hungry, reach out. We're going to put that number up on the screen. You can talk to Elizabeth, and she will give you some ideas of what you might be able to do to get what you need for survival and good life. We don't want anybody out there cold or hungry. We just want everybody to know that reaching out is a good thing to do. It's not weak. It's not like you are poor. We just want to give a hand up, not a handout. We have a whole lot more to tell you. Please stay with us.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Elder abuse is a growing problem, and it's happening right here in our Montana communities. At least 1 in 10 older adults are victims of physical or emotional abuse, financial exploitation, or neglect. To get help or report elder abuse, call your local area agency on aging or Adult Protective Services at 1-844-277-9300.
Here in Montana, we love our outdoor activities. Unfortunately, few of them are risk-free. Indeed, Montana is second in the nation per capita in head injuries that can destroy the lives of people we love. That's why you should insist your family always wear protective helmets. But you can do even more. When you fill out your vehicle registration this year, circle the Y and donate $1 to support traumatic brain injury prevention and education. Now that's using the old noggin.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking with Elizabeth Weaver of the Montana Food Bank Network. Elizabeth, so glad that we have you here today. Let's talk a bit about access to this assistance that we've been chatting through in our first segment, because, you know, in Scobie, there might not be a pantry for someone to go to, or my favorite is always Ekalaka, because I don't think there's much in Ekalaka. So how do people access assistance when they're in a rural area like there are so many in Montana?
Great question, Kimmy. And actually, there is a food pantry in Ekalaka. They're partners of ours. They're holding it down there. But I agree with you. There are many communities, as we know, across our massive state where even if it's 20 miles down the road, that is a huge difference, especially as we are right now in February, so the throes of winter.
Right.
But there are still ways that we work to try to ensure that folks have access to food. And one of those great programs is the SNAP program, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Years ago, it was called the Food Stamp Program. It kind of got a rebrand and a rename, as we like to do every so often to keep it fresh. And that's a program that can be used in any community at just about any grocery store and used to purchase food. So even if you are in a community where you might not have access to, like we said, a senior center, you know, a congregate meal site, a food pantry, there will be a grocery store close by, and sometimes even town pumps and different convenience store type places will also accept benefits that seniors or anyone can actually utilize to be able to make sure that they are getting that food and that nutrition in their life.
So is that still a call to you then, or what do people do that need to reach out for those kinds of benefits?
Absolutely. That is definitely a call to me. There's a couple of different ways that people can apply, but right now with the pandemic going on and offices being closed and, you know, in-person services being very restricted, as, you know, rightfully so, I will take that phone call and I can do an application with someone over the phone, and then we'll get it submitted. And then they can, to see if they're able to be eligible to receive benefits. The flow is SNAP is a federal program that the state of Montana administers. So what I do is I can help folks with applications and we send it on in. And then what happens is someone from the Office of Public Assistance, which is a branch under the Department of Public Health and Human Services, they're the office that kind of administers SNAP. So they follow up with clients, just a few verifying things, and then let them know if they're approved. And it comes on a nice little debit-like card. These days, and so it'll arrive in the mail, and every month your benefits are loaded on there. You can go just use it at the grocery store like you would a checking card or a debit card. And it's kind of easy peasy, as I like to say.
Well, and I like, I really want to mention that I immediately thought no stigma. And not having to hand over something that makes you feel embarrassed or ashamed of yourself. It's just a plastic card. And
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful way to get those benefits out there.
Absolutely. And it's so wonderful, too, because with SNAP, there's a bunch of things that, in addition, if that's something that someone is eligible for, but say you are in SCOBY, or with this pandemic going on, you're trying to keep close to home just because interactions in a grocery store in a community might be an elevated health risk. There are different levels with your SNAP benefits that you can take. So you can authorize someone, if you have, a daughter or a son or a caregiver, you can authorize them to help you navigate, your application and dealing with the state. You can also authorize them to use your card on your behalf. If your neighbor Susie is the one who goes into town once a week and buys all your groceries for you anyways because you can't, you can actually list her as an authorized rep to use your card on your behalf for those groceries.
Oh, that's great. If you have someone that you trust, you can then allow them to help you. You can reach out to them and they can help you when you need it the most.
Absolutely. And especially right now when it's been changing too. So sometimes you might be able to go and buy groceries for yourself, but then other times, if you get sick or like we said, if there's a snowstorm. So having that flexibility to also ensure that someone else who you had pointed out, which I think is a great point too, make sure that you trust this person, but having them being able to help navigate and also utilize that card and make sure that you're getting that food is also really key. And is a really nice option to have.
Well, yeah. And I think, is that a fairly new option? Because I've never heard anybody mention that before. And I just think it's awesome. When I think about some of the folks who, I personally have been in quarantine for a long time. I don't go a lot of places. And I think about people who have even less mobility than me. Trying to get the food that they need. This is a wonderful way to meet people where they are.
Absolutely. And it isn't a super new option. I think it's just one that isn't well known or discussed, which I think can be a barrier. Sometimes, when we look around in this day and age, you're like, well, I don't want to sign up for something that I'm not going to use or be able to use. And if you are not able to leave your house or have not been leaving your house right now, that would be a barrier. But being able to ensure that you're like, but my daughter is going, or this other person has been going to buy these groceries for me, enabling them to use those benefits kind of takes away that barrier. So absolutely, it's definitely making it more accessible to more individuals.
That's great. Folks, you're hearing it right now. You're making it so much easier to get the food that you need to be healthy, happy, and stay on your own. You can reach out to Elizabeth. We're going to run her phone number on the screen again. She can let you know what might be available to you, and she can also let you know if there might be some access to public benefits for yourself that you're eligible for that you didn't even know about. Remember, this is not a handout. This is a hand up. You've worked hard. You've been in your community, and this is for you to stay independent and healthy. We have more information. Don't go anywhere.
I was outside working on some equipment, nothing too strenuous. I started sweating and feeling out of breath.
When he felt pressure in his chest and aching in his arms, I knew we had to call 911.
First responders were there before we knew it. 38 minutes later, the doctors had restored the blood flow to my heart.
Now we know dialing 911 saved his life.
Your life is on the line.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
I take care of my wife at home. When I found out training was available, I said, sign me up. It's made a huge difference.
When my husband was injured at work, it was life-altering. The class has taught me that it's okay to grieve, to ask for help, and to better cope as a caregiver.
My dad lives 4 hours away, and the Powerful Tools class has taught me that it's okay to ask for help. I highly recommend them.
To find out about this course for caregivers, go to powerfultoolsforcaregivers.org.
It's amazing the difference a little training can make.
Out here,
We love our animals, from the wildlife to the livestock. Inside, it's the same. They're just like family. We keep them happy and healthy, most of the time. Secondhand smoke puts pets at risk for cancer, feline lymphoma, vomiting, increases the risk of tumors and lung cancer, even causes eye and skin disease. Secondhand smoke puts your pet's life at risk.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here with Elizabeth Weaver today of the Montana Food Bank Network, talking about food insecurity and resources that are out there that you may not even be aware of. We're glad to have you, Elizabeth.
So glad to be here.
You know, I was telling somebody earlier today, I have the urge to wave every time I'm on Zoom, and I'm not really sure why, but at any rate. You know, we've talked so much about Food Bank Network today, and I've learned so much. But what about, we know that there's been a big effect with the COVID pandemic. We know that the amount of assistance that people get may have changed. Like, you may have been getting assistance a few years ago that isn't at all what it is now. Can you talk a little bit about that and just how COVID has impacted the Food Bank Network folks?
Absolutely, yeah. If you had been receiving benefits before, even before March of 2020, and especially for seniors, this comes into play. One of the things that I often hear from clients when they call me too is, well, I applied, but I was only going to get, the minimum benefit. And lots of factors go into that. Usually it comes down to housing costs. So a lot of times folks, if they own their own home, will end up likely having less benefits because they have less of a housing expense per se. But a lot of times clients will be like, well, I was getting the minimum benefit, which is paltry. It's only been like $15, $16 a month. So they were like, it just didn't feel worth it. In COVID times right now, because of the public health emergency, everyone is getting the maximum allotment for their household size. So if you're a household of one and you had been receiving $15, $16 a month prior to, March of 2020 or so forth, now you would potentially be eligible to receive, I think the max allotment right now is around $204 for a household of one. So there is a significant increase to the amount of benefits that you would be getting every month. And that makes it worth it. $15, $16 isn't really enough to sustain you in food purchase for a month. $200 to $204 would be for a household of one. So that has been one of the, if I dare even say, good things that sort of has come during this pandemic time, is we are seeing that there has been more money given to assistance programs, meaning that the assistance that we offer to the public or that they offer to the public has been able to be increased.
Well, right, because I think we're all, as adults, we understand that we don't have to spend the whole entire $204 on food. It just helps our entire household to have enough.
Exactly.
Correct?
And the great thing about SNAP benefits is that, they're only able to be used for that food purchase. So not even for like food storage, obviously not alcohol or tobacco, but all of the fresh produce. You can get shelf stable food. So you can get your grains, you can get your bread, you can get your dairy, all of those kinds of things. But in the event that you don't use all of those benefits every month, they just roll over and are kind of sitting in your account like a normal bank account would, that it's just in your account and then you add the next month's benefits on top of that. So you're not beholden to necessarily spend all of those benefits every month. Right. Whatever you don't spend will just kind of sit there and get added on to.
That's wonderful. Another thing that I've learned today that didn't realize was the case, because that, I think you and I talked about how things have ebbed and flowed a lot in the Food Bank Network world, especially with pandemic, and you may need more later down the line.
Exactly. And like we said, that's the beauty of the SNAP program as compared to I love our local and network partners that are food pantries and, soup kitchens and those things, because they're doing a great service in their community and trying to meet the need as best they can. But like we mentioned earlier, because of the size of Montana, sometimes you don't live close to one of those resources that you're able to utilize. And sometimes even at those places, I think of some smaller food pantries, you're also limited by the size of your pantry as to how much food you can have on hand, maybe how much fresh produce you can have on hand, and all of them are doing their very best. So SNAP allows individual choice for you to go to the grocery store and kind of make the purchases that best suit your diet. If you have a gluten allergy, you would be needing more gluten-free products. If you were dairy-free, you would be needing lactose-free items. So it really allows you that flexibility to pick the foods that are best for you and your diet.
Well, and I've said it already during our show, you're meeting people where they are, and that's so important for folks, that we don't make up the rules all the time, that we meet them where they live, and I think that's pretty wonderful. And, just one other thing that I'm really excited about, you mentioned the fresh produce and the fresh foods. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. So SNAP is a huge proponent. I think that a lot of times folks don't always realize that, of allowing folks to be able to finally purchase that produce. Produce is expensive, even, locally or at your grocery store, even if it's in season, it's just kind of expensive. But SNAP gives you the option to have the funds to purchase that. And a lot of times local farmers markets and community, gardens and stands like that will accept SNAP. So be sure to check out, if you have a farmer's market, even a winter market, that see if they accept SNAP, because that's another great way to be able to boost those fruit and veggie intake in your community.
Well, and I'm very glad you mentioned that, Elizabeth, because we do have farmers markets that are that we help with through Aging Services, and it's a wonderful way to get fresh produce, also local, so that you're buying from your local farmers, and just a great way to get out as well and get a little social interaction going on.
Absolutely.
Well, Elizabeth, it has just been a pleasure having you with us today. Thank you so much. I feel better already. I know I told you I worry about this a lot, and I feel better knowing that we have such a great system in place, and I thank you. I hope you'll come back again soon.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And folks, again, I've said it and said it. It's not a hand out. It's a hand up. You've worked hard, you've supported your family, your community, your schools, your businesses. We want to be there for you. We want to make sure that you can live your life independently and well. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Everman, and we're glad you were with us today.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.